Hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about illness. But we are not going to talk about the biological aspect of illness. We will focus on the relationship of illness and literature as Woolf discusses it in her essay on illness. And also importantly, how to make our time during sickness more meaningful. Virginia Woolf was an encyclopedia of literature. She wrote 9 novels and tons of essays, letters, and diaries. There is more to read about her intimate life than her literary production. Even in her essays, she adopts a conversational style like Montaigne. It seems like she is talking to the reader on a coffee table under evening dew. She is a writer of margins of society. She tries to direct attention of the public to the characters or moments that we encounter each day. But somehow the great writers have not considered them worthy enough to mention in their glorious novels. She laments this fact in the wonderful essay entitled On Being Ill, in which she focuses on sickness. There is no better way to introduce the essay than to read her own magnificent introduction. She begins with these words: considering how common illness is, how tremendous the spiritual change that it brings, how astonishing when the lights of health go down, the undiscovered countries that are then disclosed, what wastes and deserts of the soul a slight attack of influenza brings to light. What precipices and lawns sprinkled with bright flowers a little rise of temperature reveals. What in ancient and obdurate oaks are uprooted in us in the act of sickness. How we go down into the pit of death and feel the waters of annihilation close above our heads and wake thinking to find ourselves in the presence of the angels. She continues, when we think of this and infinitely more, as we are so frequently forced to think of it, it becomes strange indeed that illness has not taken its place with love, battle, and jealousy among the prime themes of literature. She laments the fact that if literature is supposed to be the expression par excellence of human experience, then how come, apart from a few novels like De Quincey's The Opium Eater or Proust's descriptions of illness in The Search of Lost Time, there does not seem to be so much focus on this mundane, enlightening experience? This plea, by the way, is coming from a writer. In fact, it can only come from a genius who has spent more days in illness than in good health. Think about it for a second. When we are sick with severe flu or fever, it feels like the day will never end. The pain becomes intolerable at times. Nonetheless, when we regain health, we forget all about it, and not until we fall sick again do we remind ourselves of the pain we went through last time. There is a tendency in us to compartmentalize sickness as forgetfulness. Woolf further analyzes this dimension of sickness and highlights the latent error in literature: its obsession with the mind. She says, literature does its best to maintain that its concern is with the mind, that the body is a sheet of plain glass through which the soul looks straight and clear, and save for one or two passions such as desire and greed is null, negligible, and non-existent. Then she goes on to describe the relationship between mind and body that would make even Aristotle envious. She explains, the creature within can only gaze through the pane, smudged or rosy. It cannot separate off from the body like the sheath of a knife or the pod of a pea for a single instant. It must go through the whole unending procession of changes, heat and cold, comfort and discomfort, hunger and satisfaction, health and illness, until there comes the inevitable catastrophe. The body smashes itself to smithereens, and the soul, it is said, escapes. She is worried about the hegemony of a few sentiments and mind within literature. If a writer's task is to describe with full strength what goes on inside the human self, then the mind has the same importance as the body. The self is as much affected by the mind as the body, but we tend to favor understanding over experiencing the world. Mind makes us understand the world, but only after we have experienced it with our body. In the same way, why is it that there is a genre for romance novels and spy novels and war novels, but no genre for novels on sickness? Why do some sentimental themes get an upper hand over others? The obvious answer seems to me because some genres bring in more profit than others. But Woolf does not go down that route. She wrestles with this fact and tries to find real reasons for prejudices against illness. The first reason she gives is the lack of words to explain experience of a sick person. She says, "The merest schoolgirl, when she falls in love, has Shakespeare, Donne, Keats to speak to her mind for her. But let a sufferer try to describe a pain in his head to a doctor, and language at once runs dry. There is nothing ready-made for him. He is forced to coin words himself, and taking his pain in one hand and a lump of pure sound in the other, as perhaps the inhabitants of Babel did in the beginning, so to crush them together that a brand new word in the end drops out. Probably it will be something laughable." That is to say that our experience during illness is of a particularly different kind. During sickness, our mind can think, but it does not have the strength to comprehend. It experiences more than it can understand, and that also in a different manner. The body is the net through which the world enters the self materially. Hence, when we fall sick, the net becomes misshaped. It lets in experience that a healthy person would not be able to have. It is this novelty of experience combined with the poverty of English words to capture the essence of illness that makes life extremely difficult for writers to create a specific genre for illness. But what does sickness bring to us exactly that redirects our experiences into unforeseen territory? Woolf considers this question as almost unanswerable, as she has already explained the inexpressible nature of this kind of experience. But she does suggest a couple of possibilities through her own experiences, of course. She exclaims, "There is, let us confess it, an illness is the great confessional, a childish outspokenness in illness. Things are said, truths blurted out, which the cautious respectability of health conceals." Sickness brings to surface the hidden child in us, or to put it differently, it reminds us of the fact that we are all grown-up children. Adulthood is nothing but a stubborn, illusory belief that we are well past the stupidities of childhood. Illness shatters this illusion time and again. It lets us see the world as children do, and also gives us the strange unconscious license of doing or saying anything without hindrance. During illness, our consciousness forgets its age, in other words. It lacks the strength of maintaining the illusion of adult responsibilities, thereby convincing the body to show its infant side. But this childishness is accompanied by another important consequence of illness: loneliness. We are not talking to others in our childish outbursts. We are actually talking to ourselves during illness. We get the all-important right to spend uninterrupted long spells of time with ourselves. Woolf explains, "We do not know our own souls, let alone the souls of others. Human beings do not go hand in hand the whole stretch of the way. There is a virgin forest, tangled, pathless in each, a snowfield where even the print of birds' feet is unknown. Here we go alone, and like it better so. Always to have sympathy, always to be accompanied, always to be understood would be intolerable." When we fall ill, we have the privilege of diving down deep into our souls and search through its valleys. At times we get eureka moments during sickness. We realize things that we knew for a long time but did not get time to appreciate. The self becomes an object of study at the time when the power of observations has been altered for the better, and the sword of comprehensibility does not hang over our heads. We do not have to understand ourselves during sickness, we just have to experience ourselves. Woolf provides a beautiful description of how we observe the world during illness. "Now, become as the leaf or the daisy, lying recumbent, staring straight up, the sky is discovered to be something so different from this that reality is a little shocking. This then has been going on all the time without our knowing it. This incessant making up of shapes and casting them down, this buffing of clouds together and drawing vast trains of ships and wagons from north to south, this incessant ringing up and down of curtains of light and shade, this interminable experiment with gold shafts and blue shadows, with veiling the sun and unveiling it, with making rock ramparts and wafting them away, this endless activity, with a waste of heaven knows how many million horsepower of energy has been left to work its will, air in, air out. Incredible. These words can only flow from Woolf's pen. She uses words like slaves. She has complete authority over their expression. Usually writers find words to fit the occasion. Woolf uses words to create a world of her own. She does not need words. On the contrary, words need her. Anyways, as can be seen in this description, she focuses on the description of her thoughts. It does seem like she wrote this when she was ill, in which only impressions follow each other. It is close to Impressionism in art, in which the exact detailing of the sensory impressions does not matter as much as the experience generated through their assemblage. This is what she means, that during illness, experience remains at the level of incomprehensibility but become more aesthetically enhanced, which consequently enhances the experience overall. She describes the difference between a healthy and a sick reader thus. In health, meaning has encroached upon sound. Our intelligence domineers over our senses, but in illness, with the police of duty, we creep beneath some obscure poem by Mallarmé or Donne, some phrase in Latin or Greek, and the words give out their scent, and ripple like leaves, and checker us with light and shadow, and then, if at last we grasp the meaning, it is all the richer for having travelled slowly up with all the bloom upon its wings. This is why she suggests that do not try and read prose during illness. Poetry is the reading for the sick. In poetry, we get sudden bursts of refined descriptions. We feel the world better with poetry, while we understand the world better with prose. Woolf explains further that Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire is not the book for influenza, nor the Golden Bowl or Madame Bovary. On the other hand, with responsibility shelved and reason in abeyance, for who is going to exact criticism from an invalid or sound sense from the bedridden? Other tastes assert themselves, sudden, fitful, intense. Next time you fall sick, keep in mind Woolf's advice. It might make you rethink your relationship with your inner world and the world around you. Thank you everyone.